was not only a painter, but he also wrote poetry. And this is right from the, it comes straight last week only. So I would like to donate it to the IMPA's library, to Marcelo. And thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee, Maria José Pacífico, the director of IMPA, Marcelo Viana, and my old friend, Jacob Palles, my old friend, Dan Marquezin, who gives me the pleasure to be here. And I'll ask your permission to start right away, because we have, I think, a moving trip that I propose to make with you. So I'd like to start right away. Thank you. As we have, I suppose, many French colleagues here, I'd like to start with an homage to France.
Il revient à ma mémoire des souvenirs familiers.
This work is very little known. I found it in our records. It's Marianne, the République Française by Portinari. It's a post-war poster that he did. I hope you will not blame me if I share with you some memories stemming from our fond connection with France. As we grow old, we sometimes may become more sentimental, and that is my only excuse to show you the 3 slides that follow as a souvenir from the country that joins Brazil in our momentous meeting. You probably will not recognize me there, but that shows a very old connection with France. And also this one. Old stuff. Perhaps most of you weren't even born. And this one is the last one. So the subject we chose is the connection between science and technology and art and culture that Portinari project has practiced for 40 years, you know. I'm afraid you will not find very exciting mathematics in my presentation, but maybe you will be moved by other things. So let's start with the poem. I would like to invite you to hear together with me a poem that a very famous Brazilian poet, Carlos Drummond de Andrade, made at the moment of my father's passing.
Entre o cafezal e o sonho, o garoto pinta uma estrela dourada na parede da capela, e nada mais resiste à mão pintora. A mão cresce e pinta o que não é para ser pintado, mas sofrido. Entre o sonho e o cafezal, entre guerra e paz, entre mártires, ofendidos, músicos, jangadas, pandorgas, entre os roceiros mecanizados de Israel, a memória de Giotto e o aroma primeiro do Brasil, entre o amor e o ofício, eis que a mão decide. Todos os meninos, ainda os mais desgraçados, sejam vertiginosamente felizes. Agora, há uma verdade sem angústia, mesmo no estar angustiado. O que era dor é flor, conhecimento plástico do mundo, e por assim haver disposto o essencial, deixando o resto aos doutores de Bizâncio, bruscamente se cala e voa para nunca mais a mão infinita, a mão de olhos azuis de Cândido Portinari.
Well, of course, our allotted time is obviously not sufficient to present a biography of Portinari, but I would like to start by giving you an idea of the importance of his work and also of his humanistic and ethical legacy. Being his son, I have very little credibility to claim that. Therefore, I have chosen a few widely known personalities to speak for me.
Nós tivemos que inventar o Brasil. O Brasil não existia. Quer dizer, eu quando fui inventar o Brasil já estava inventado. Mas outras pessoas antes de mim tiveram que inventar o Brasil. O Villa-Lobos teve que inventar o Brasil, o Portinari.
I have 3 people to speak for me. Would it be possible to turn a little down the lights, please? I think the images will be better, if it's possible. If not, we'll go on like this. Well, I have shown you 2 people, 2 Brazilian people to speak. Let me show you a French one now. René Huyghe. René Huyghe was the chief curator of the Louvre Museum. And when he met Portinari, just after the war, there was a very important exhibition at the Galerie Charpentier in Paris, and René Huyghe made this statement at that moment. And this painting you see here is the 4th painting of the series known as Retirantes, the migrants. This one is at the Centre Pompidou right now. It's in exhibition there right now. And also there is another venture with Portinari's importance, not only as a painter, but as an interpreter of the ideas of his generation. The art historian Clarivaldo Prado Valladares tells us this. You know, Portinari was not only the aesthetics, but also the artistic, the cultural, the social, politics concerns of his generation. I have chosen 2 pictures to illustrate that. The first one shows, I don't know if you know, perhaps you know who is this gentleman here. It's Jorge Amado, one of our major writers. This one is also an immense Brazilian writer, Graciliano Ramos. This in white, I'll give you a clue. He's not Brazilian, he's from Chile. Poet, Pablo Neruda, and here Portinari. And these people were all the time together discussing art, culture, politics, world. This is a picture of Graciliano Ramos, who is here, 50th anniversary. Here, Ministro Gustavo Capanema was the Minister of Education. And his chief of cabinet was Carlos Drummond de Andrade. Good times. Well, I'll not go along with Portinari's biography because we don't have the time, but I'll suggest that you might visit Google Arts and Culture program has included our collection, our 40-year collection. We have 30,000 documents and 5,400 works of art in this place here. So you might visit. It's very easy. It's just you put in Google, you put Portinari and Google, and you go directly to this. Despite this double importance of Portinari as a painter and as a man of his generation, 16 years after his death, we have this interrogation by his biographer. He compares the destiny of Portinari's work with that of a national hero, Tiradentes, from the 18th century, that was dismembered. He was hanged and dismembered by the Portuguese colonial authorities, and his members were strewn upon a 300-mile turnpike in Minas Gerais. So this shows why the Portinari project started, to try to answer to this question, try to answer to this grim cultural gap. The first article that was published about our work led to a paradoxical headline. A famous unknown. So the Portinari project started to answer this question 40 years ago. And we spent 25 years locating his works all over the world, all over Brazil and all over the world also. We found works in Czechoslovakia, in Finland, in South Africa, in Canada, Israel, Haiti, and Mexico, all Latin American countries. After 25 years, we were able to publish the Catalogue Raisonné of Portinari. I never thought that I would be alive to see that, because these Catalogue Raisonnés, sometimes they take 40 years, 50 years to be completed. A whole team passes and another one comes. And we had also the joy of seeing that it was the first Catalogue Raisonné of complete works of a painter in Latin America. Even the Mexicans, and we know the love the Mexicans have for painting, for their painters. Rivera, Orozco, Siqueiros, Tamayo, Frida Kahlo, they don't have a complete works catalog. If you like, after, when we discuss what has been shown, I can explain to you why a Catalogue Raisonné is such a long time venture. You can have an idea why when you look at this page. Our Catalogue Raisonné has 5,000 pages like this. And the main problem is that if a work that is reproduced there is cited in a letter or in some of the 30,000 documents, this record has to be there. So this is, it really takes a long time. And we had also the pride and the joy to see that Brazil's president offered a Catalogue Raisonné as a gift of state. Here you can see him offering to the Jacques Chirac, France's president, but he also offered to Pope Benedict XVI, to the Queen of England, to the Prime Minister of Japan, to the Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, and many others. And this tradition was kept in the next government by Dilma. Here you see her offering to François Hollande, the next president. Of course, the Catalogue Raisonné allowed us to create other things, that were very exciting. For instance, what I'm going to show you now, I think is something that I have never seen in any museum or in any exhibition all over the world, is to take the complete works of Portinari, the 5,000 works, and show them parading in front of you, like this. This was shown at the Grand Palais in Paris. We estimated that if you wanted to see everything, you would have to stay 9 hours looking at that. Of course, nobody stays 9 hours, but when you come, you see a certain piece of chronological space there. Here, for instance, I can see that we are in the 50s, his production in the 50s. Well, after the Catalogue Raisonné was done, we asked ourselves, what remains to be done? What is the mission of the Portinari project now on? And it was decided that our mission was the children and young people in Brazil and all over the world. And we started an educational project that has now 23 years and has been all over the place, The challenge, of course, is this one. More than 95% of his works are inaccessible to the public. How to take them? It's like Portinari has written a letter, an immense letter to humanity. And how can you deliver this letter? So the technology came to help us. I'm going to show you just one example, because we have been everywhere, in the Amazon River, in the riverine populations, all over the place, in prisons, in hospitals, everywhere we were invited to go where we wanted to go. Let me show you an example. In a very beautiful region in Brazil called the Pantanal, the swamps of the middle west of Brazil.
Sueli, você já viajou esse Brasil inteiro fazendo essas exposições interativas. Que experiência mais te emocionou nessas viagens?
Olha, há tantas experiências, né? Uma que me emocionou muito foi no Pantanal Mato Grossense. Nós fomos com a exposição Brasil de Portinari montada numa chalana da Polícia Militar, subindo o Rio Paraguai. Nós saímos de Porto Murtinho, fomos até Corumbá. Íamos parando em pequenos povoados, não era nem cidade, eram pequenos povoados. E eu sentia, quando entrava aquelas crianças no barco para ver a exposição, eu sentia assim uma emoção grande, porque era assim, a primeira vez que eles estavam vendo, e talvez a última, né? Então a gente tinha que dar tudo possível ali, né, para aquelas crianças. E como eles se identificavam, e nós chegamos a um povoado dos índios paraguaios chamados índios chamacoco, porque a gente tanto visitava.
I'm sorry, this is not in English, you know, but I wanted you to see the
E o
images.
índiozinho entrou e foi direto para o índio, uma cabeça de índio do Portinari. E ele olhava para nós e olhava para a cabeça de índio, eu acho que ele estava pensando, ué, alguém já tinha me visto antes e me pintou assim?
This happened many times, you know, where people recognized themselves in Portinari's work. And now I would like to talk to you a little bit about the importance of science and technology in the Portinari project from the beginning. Of course, the project was born in the mathematics department of the Pontifical Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro, in which I belonged. It started there, and the people that started dialoguing with us were all mathematicians, physicists, computer science people, engineers, and we kept this conversation all along the time. Just to give you an example, the first number of the house organ of IBM was dedicated to the Portinari project many years ago. It was the cover. And of course, we had many challenges. One of the challenges was how to preserve the slide collection, the color slides. We knew that color slides are perishable. And we started thinking that we might digitize them. But there was no scanner in Brazil at that time. The first experience was done with a scanner from IBM from Venezuela. And this is a very moving moment. We were with the IMPA specialists in image processing. IMPA was the only institution in Brazil that worked with digital images from meteorological kind, you know. So we went there, and you see this equipment behind. Today, maybe this will take the space of an iPhone, but at that time, it was very moving to see the first time we saw a work by Portinari digitized there. And we have the same age as the industry of microcomputers, you know. 1984, we started doing a database. It was the first database to be used in art here in Brazil. It was done by Daniel Menacé at PUC. He was from the computer science department. And I would like to show you something that challenged us very much were the forgeries. We found forgers all along these 40 years and how to fight the forgeries. And we proposed a new method to identify forgeries. Let me show you a letter that I just received, an email that I just received from one of the big auction houses, Christie's, where a lady asks if the work that she submits is authentic. We have been facing these problems for all over our time, you know. So she sent this work here. Apparently, genuine Portinari. But if you look closely, if you have the experience of working, you know, for so long a time, you know, you see that this is what is called a pastiche. What is a pastiche? Is when the forger takes several paintings and creates a new one that does not exist. And I have looked into the works that we have, the 5,000 works, and I found the two works, perhaps, that he used to do, he or she used to do this. You know, one is this one. You see how similar it is. The hair of the boy and the type of brush strokes are very similar. And the other is this one here. I'm not completely sure this one on the left is a false painting. We have to keep studying. Another one is another pastiche, went to the first page of one of our main newspapers. You see, the forger took out one of the girls, and he made another painting. So what did we decide? The traditional methods for identifying forgeries are of two kinds. One is the eye of the expert. Based on his knowledge, he can look at the painting and say this is false. But there has been a lot of historical errors, like in the works of Vermeer. There was a forger that became famous, Van Meegeren, that he could make paintings, false paintings, that passed through the main laboratories in Holland and the main specialists in Vermeer. So this fails. And the other venue is the physical, chemical study of pigments and supports. This also fails, as the case of Vermeer proves. So my colleague at the mathematics department at PUC, George Svetlichny, and I, we proposed a completely different way of looking at this, which is to look at the morphology of the brushstroke. I have no time to go into detail, but we took macro photographies of brushstrokes, and we tried to classify this using a Bayesian method that was developed at NASA at the time. It had a very big success with the IRAS, the infrared astronomical satellite, that in 1983 was launched to make a survey of the sky in the infrared region. So we found that we could reduce the brushstroke to a profile that was very similar to the infrared spectrum of these celestial objects. And then you can see how complex a brushstroke is. This is the nose of that character, which we call a cangaceiro, is the point of his nose that is there. Well, there is a lot to be said. If you want to discuss a little bit after, I'll be, of course, at your disposal. Autoclass was a very important helper in this. So this is the profile you see below. We took a Fourier transform in 2 dimensions of the brushstroke, and then we cut this Fourier transform by a plane in a line that you can see very clearly, which expresses the periodicity of the brushstroke. And then you have this profile here, and we submitted these profiles that came from authentic brushstrokes to autoclass to classify. And this is under development still. And we had the collaboration that started right here, in 2007. We had an homage to our colleague Rafael Iorio Jr., that was 60 years old at that time. And this gentleman, Professor Arne Jensen, was there, and he became very interested in this problem, and he started working in Denmark. And then he sent us this fantastic email when he says, "It stands thus confirmed the hypothesis that the brushstrokes characterize their author." So this was very important to us. And the most recent work we did in connection with science and technology is this one that has been submitted to this Congress, SPEAR. Nivio Ziviani is training a neural net to identify false paintings. I have given him the 5,400 high-resolution archives of each painting, and he's training this. This is under development. Now I'd like to talk about the last part of our presentation, which is the War and Peace project. Portinari was struggling for peace, social justice, fraternity, respect for human dignity. This was a constant throughout his life. He said once, "Humans deserve a more dignified existence. My weapon is painting." A weapon for peace, of course, he declared in an interview. I chose here a very simple example, a small drawing that tells us of his dream in relation to pungent world conflicts, which is this one here. This drawing is still with me. It's a very small, very simple drawing. When we arrived in Israel in 1956, he started painting everything he saw. But as he saw war, Jerusalem was divided. We could not go to the old part of the city. He was very moved by the violence that was contained in this war. So he did this very simple work that is his dream, to have. And in 1950, he was awarded the International Gold Medal for Peace, which was given to him by Frédéric Joliot-Curie, was the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, who was the son of Marie Curie and Pierre Curie. This is a stamp that commemorates that. This is Frédéric Joliot-Curie. So the War and Peace project starts really here with the first Secretary General of the United Nations, who was a Norwegian, Trygve Lie, and he proposed that each country member should donate a work of art to the newly created headquarters in New York. And Portinari had this historical of fighting for peace, so Brazil chose him for us to do this work. I have this to show you. Maybe let's see if I can, if we can go to our partnership with Google included a street view that they did at the United Nations headquarters, where you can see, maybe we can see this, I'm not sure. Let's see. Yes. Just 1 second. So that you can see those who have not visited War and Peace. These are huge works, 14 meters high, the War and Peace facing each other. If you'd like to visit, you can go here. This is the address to see that. The War and Peace project really starts in 2007, which was the 50th anniversary of the installation of these murals in the United Nations. And I was invited to go there. And as you know, Brazil is the first, the opening speech at the General Assembly of the United Nations is always done by Brazil, by tradition. It was the first speech, and then it kept like this. It was the first time that the murals, War and Peace, were mentioned in this speech. You know, I have seen a book with all the 49 speeches that came before that. No one mentioned. It was the Cold War in the United States, McCarthyism, and Portinari was a left artist. So he was not allowed to be at the inauguration, and he died without the opportunity of seeing his main works. You know, this is the really big synthesis of everything he did in his life. Let me show you how was this speech.
Senhoras e senhores, ao entrar neste prédio, os delegados podem ver uma obra de arte presenteada pelo Brasil às Nações Unidas há 50 anos. Trata-se dos murais Guerra e Paz, pintados pelo grande artista brasileiro Cândido Portinari. O sofrimento expresso no mural que retrata a guerra e nos remete à alta responsabilidade das Nações Unidas de afastar o risco de conflitos armados. O segundo mural revela que a paz vai muito além da ausência da guerra. Pressupõe bem-estar, saúde e um convívio harmonioso com a natureza. Pressupõe justiça social, liberdade e superação dos flagelos da fome e da pobreza. Não é por acaso que o mural Guerra está colocado de frente para quem chega e o mural Paz para quem sai. A mensagem do artista é singela, mas poderosa. Transformar aflições em esperança, guerra em paz, é a essência da missão das Nações Unidas. O Brasil continuará a trabalhar para que essa expectativa tão elevada se torne definitivamente realidade. Muito obrigado.
Thank you. On this occasion, I became aware that the United Nations headquarters would undergo a deep restoration estimated at $2 billion that will take several years, and that its works of art would have to be withdrawn. I saw the opportunity to realize an old dream, the realization of which I always imagined was impossible. In 1956, when War and Peace panels were about to be shipped to the United Nations, Brazilians rallied to express their desire that they be exhibited for the Brazilian public for the first and last time. President Juscelino Kubitschek then promoted his exhibition at the Municipal Theater of Rio de Janeiro. The next morning, I read the headlines in a main Carioca newspaper. Now they will go to the UN irremediably. Who wants to see them has to go to New York. I have had this fact across my throat all these years. How many Brazilians can go to New York? But we can ask ourselves, after what you saw, are the murals War and Peace still actual? Let me answer you with an image. More than ever, the world is threatened by wars, urban and rural violence, aggression against the environment, social inequality and injustice, hunger and poverty. Violence seems to know no limits, as it leaves millions of men, women, and children grief-stricken and puts the planet itself in danger. The War and Peace panels are immense symbolic power, which embraces the desire of all nations that, like Brazil, yearn for peace, justice, and brotherhood among peoples. Portinari's final poignant message is more needed than ever. So we could arrange to bring the War and Peace to Brazil. The inauguration was at the same place it was more than 50 years ago, at the Teatro Municipal do Rio de Janeiro. And there I was very moved because it was the first time I have seen the biggest theater in a city being everybody standing up, not to applaud ballet or a concert, but two works of painting. And then we restored, 4 months restoring the murals. This was a condition that the UN made to the loan. And we did this as an open atelier. We received children for all over Brazil for 4 months. All day we were receiving to show them how to restore a work of art like this, you know. And then we took them to Sao Paulo, to the Memorial da América Latina. You could see these queues all day and at night also. People did not want to leave, they wanted to see. Then we took them to the Grand Palais in Paris, at the Salon d'Honneur, the Grand Palais. I would like to show you a short piece of the speech given by the Ministry of Culture, the French Ministry of Culture, at the opening of this exhibition. I think it's very important to see this and to think about Brazil nowadays.
Le vernissage de cette exposition nous permet de rendre hommage à une œuvre majeure de Candido Portinari et à travers lui au génie créatif brésilien. C'est aussi une occasion de saluer la contribution du Brésil à la promotion d'un ordre international plus juste, plus équitable, plus respectueux des droits internationaux. Cette exposition rend hommage, cher João Portinari, à la vision éclairée, engagée et volontaire que votre père a développée tout au long de son parcours créateur. Ce parcours l'a conduit à plusieurs reprises à Paris. Les intervenants précédents l'ont rappelé, où il a accompli une partie de sa formation comme peintre, comme artiste et comme homme également. Et c'est aussi, cher João, ce qui vous a conduit vous-même à plusieurs reprises, à de nombreuses reprises à Paris, et à recevoir d'ailleurs une formation typiquement française que vous m'avez racontée hier soir dans un grand lycée parisien. Vous gardez le souvenir d'une éducation assez austère, mais de qualité, m'avez-vous dit, avant de suivre les écoles préparatoires, puis les écoles supérieures d'excellence françaises. S'il fallait illustrer la force des liens entre la France et le Brésil, vous en seriez, comme votre père, une parfaite illustration. La force de ces liens, le public parisien, français, européen, aura la chance de la découvrir pendant un mois dans des conditions exceptionnelles au Grand Palais.
We have reached the last slide now. I would like to show you how we gave back the Murals War and Peace after all this fantastic itinerary in Brazil and France. We made a show to celebrate that, and the United Nations gave us the plenary room of the General Assembly to make this show, and I was surprised to see who made the opening speech. I would like to show you now, and this is the last slide.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Antonio de Aguirre Patriota, permanent representative of the Federative Republic of Brazil to the United Nations, Excellencies, Professor João Candido Portinari, Mr. Pia Lessa, Ceremony Show Director, Mr. Francisco Bosco, President of Funarte, Ms. Maria Duarte, Executive Director of the War and Peace Project, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, boa noite. Thank you so much for joining us at this momentous celebration. Today we say, welcome home to two of the most meaningful works that the United Nations is honored to host. I thank Ambassador Antonio de Aguirre Patriota and the staff of the Permanent Mission of Brazil for this wonderful event. War and Peace are more than magnificent works of art. They are Portinari's call to action. Thanks to him, all leaders who enter the United Nations see the terrible toll of war and the universal dream for peace. I am deeply grateful to Projecto Portinari and the Brazilian government for the restoration. I'm delighted that in Rio, this process was open to the public, and that these works were also exhibited in Sao Paulo, Belo Horizonte, and Paris. I visited Brazil when the murals were there in 2011. At the time, I said that Brazil had a much more important guest than me. I meant war and peace. As you know, Portinari himself was warned by his doctors to stop working on the murals because he was becoming sick from the lead paint. But he refused, and he literally gave his life to finish these masterpieces. He never lived to see them installed. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a moment of silence to honor the memory of this visionary artist. Thank you. Portinari is no longer alive, but his legacy will live forever at the United Nations. Let us realize his vision and move from war to peace. Muito obrigado. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Before I finish, I would like to give you a very exciting news, is that the United Nations has agreed to loan again War and Peace to us, this time to show in Italy, at the Palazzo Reale a Milan, at a very fantastically beautiful room that has 15 meters high, and is called the Sala delle Cariatidi, where Guernica from Picasso was shown here. And here is the letter from the United Nations authorizing again. So I think these are like two great ambassadors for the mission of the United Nations. And we'd like to travel with them as long as we can, maybe take them to other countries too. So thank you so much. And I would like to be here to answer your questions if you have. It will be a pleasure. Thank you.